What is up, guys? It is the Big Man Bassing. Let's talk fishing, but more importantly, stick around to the end of the video. We have an announcement to make. Alright guys, so we're going to talk a little bit different. This is going to be a different video than we've talked about before. This is kind of a get ready for spring fishing in South Florida video. This is fishing for Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Naples, Golden Gate, and even down towards the Glades and a little bit past it down towards, if you're doing freshwater fishing in Miami. This is what we call false spring. Normally we have another cold front come through somewhere in March, but we have a lot of fish start moving up the beds this time of year. So you're going to be tempted to throw bed baits. And I've been working a little bit on some other baits, and with another a buddy of mine using some new baits that he's been recommending for me to use. And one of those being the Lawless Lure. If you guys are unfamiliar with that bait, it is the world's first recoil bait. It's actually a really decent bait. I used it just on a trip to Miami. I will throw in a little photos here real quick with them. And was impressed. It is definitely going to be in my bed bait arsenal, but we have a whole arsenal to go over. We're going to make this really short, simple, and to the point. It's the beauty of editing. I don't have to open this box, pull it out, and go and edit this bait and this bait. I'm going to show you guys some things you guys can throw to increase your catchability for this springtime bite. All right, hang on. We're going to get the first one out. So first we have our jigs. Now jigs, they come in a variety of different colors, different styles, all of that. The cool thing about fishing here in freshwater, in Cape especially, the canals aren't super deep. So a lot of the stuff is visual fishing. I can see a lot of these fish on beds. So being able to put a jig in there is huge. Now, everyone has different colored jigs that they like using. The water in Cape around this time of year is fairly clear. So using your clear color baits, stuff like that for your clearer water. Not saying the baits need to be clear, but your baits you would use for your less stained water. This is one of my go-tos. This is a Band of Anglers jig. I can't remember the name of it, with a Wise Guys mobster craw on the back. And it's kind of that universal style. I like these jigs. They're sturdy, nice heavy head, something I can put right in the bed and just bounce and just have my fun with that. And I've caught some decent fish and some decent bass doing this, along with some peacocks. Now, I'm not the most photogenic guy on earth, but I'll throw those photos up here real quick. Now, when it comes to throwing jigs, it is not something that I'm super fond of. Normally I'm using my bait caster. I'm using something like my, that's too light. There it is. I'm not fancy. Grand Slam, that $5.99, 40-pound Grand Slam. You don't have to worry about spooking a lot of these fish, especially here. These fish here are aggressive if anything hits their bed. And you're basically gonna need every little bit of strength to pull that fish off the bed. They're gonna run to cover, they're gonna do all their things. I like my 40-pound when it comes to that, especially my bait caster. My bait caster, I already run 40-pound braid on that. I tie it to a 40-pound leader and send it. End of story. So on my lighter tackle, like my spinning gear, I'll run my 15, 20, sometimes 12-pound mono leader. And yeah, I'm a mono guy. Here's what I have to say about fluorocarbon. It's not a bad option. I prefer mono. The strength is there over a longer period of time. Fluorocarbon is great for clear water with zero structure, especially for bass anglers, because one, you can run 20-pound fluoro as a leader, and you're not going to hook a 20-pound bass, so you're not going to overpressure their eyes, I don't remember what the terminology was on it, but you're not going to stretch your fluorocarbon out using that. I just prefer mono, because versus up north, I have some saltwater species that can make their way into freshwater, and I'd rather have my monofilament for the abrasion resistance than the fluorocarbon. Your snook do not play around on light leader, and you want to make sure you keep them hooked. But aside from the jigs, we do have our next bait. So why the hell am I using crappie jigs? I will tell you why. Peacock bass are stupid aggressive. They just hit things out of spite. And God forbid you put a bait inside their home during bedding season. The only way a fish can move something is typically with the nose or its mouth. And peacocks choose never to nose things. They headbutt them and bite them like an angry stepchild. So what do I use? I use something small that they're gonna put in their mouth, and then I hook it. It's that simple. These fish are that aggressive that they're just gonna bite and go. So with these crappie jigs, it allows me to put a small presentation. Typically, this is where I'm using my 12-pound mono because super easy to pitch it. No stupid resistance in it. Pitch it out there. Go ahead and hook it in there. Now, I will say you will go through jig heads quite often. These guys are not made for bigger fish, but they do great. I like pink. There are people out there that will go, oh, you got to use a red jig head. You got to use a white jig head. Lead's the best color. For me, 1/16 ounce pink is perfect for all of these little jigs that I use for these fish. And this is a bait you can throw year round. It's just a personal preference for me for bed fishing that I don't see a lot of people throw because everyone's like, well, you got to throw big bait for big fish. No, you don't. Throw something small. I guarantee you, yeah, you may not catch the biggest fish all the time, but you're going to get a good quality number of fish, especially for someone who's not as avid as a fisherman as you or myself who's watching this, or if this is a tutorial for you to figure some stuff out, then throw this. I guarantee it, you'll catch some fish on it. It won't be the biggest bass on earth, or it might be. Elephants eat peanuts. End of story. This is a great thing for you to own. Super cheap things. I mean, I think this was like $4.99. I got a bunch of jig heads. Like a $2.99 thing you can get at Dick's Sporting Goods. Even all your local tackle stuff should have this. This is like beginner, novice stuff, great with kids, stuff like that. And you really can't mess it up. These are some local poured stuff by a buddy of mine, Second Chance Bait Co. Super cool guy. He pours a lot of baits that I use and has inspired a lot of other bait pourers around the country and some of the pages he's on. But I do have some more baits for us to check out. Now, a lot of people think of topwaters as more of your fall bite or afternoon bite and stuff like that. But here's what I'm going to tell you guys. A lot of these fish here bed super close to banks or structures. So sending something like your Whopper Plopper or, you know, your Chapo, depending on what brand you like. This is one of those Chapos from Berkeley. These fish are going to be bedded up, especially some of your non-native species here in the state with, you know, your Mayans, Oscars, Jaguar Capone cichlids, peacocks, largemouth, the whole 9 yards. Everything is typically banking along the shallow area and hanging out. So if you buzz something like this over their head, or if they're looking for a quick snack and you throw a little miniature hula popper or a regular size hula popper at them, or, you know, this is a custom painted skitter walk from Native Bait and Tackle. Give a big shout out to these guys. Or even if it's just your typical spook, a little mini spook, something like that. These baits are notorious for catching fish already and well-known baits for catching fish on. The big thing I'll tell you is be creative. Your frog, there are more tadpoles in the water right now that I've seen in quite a while, and there was a bunch in South Florida when I was down there literally yesterday. So frogs are active. There's tadpoles that are active. Small presentations catch fish. Easy, simple thing to remember, but also remember frogs work too. Don't be afraid to get them up in that grass. 9 times out of 10 though, during this bedding season, this is going to be a reaction strike. They're going to see something hit them in shallow water. Something's going to start twitching around and it's going to be over. Easy thing to throw, easy thing to have. We all have frogs. I have more frogs than I know what to do with. Now, especially for your guys that are down there in South Florida, you guys have snakeheads. And snakeheads are an amazing fish to target, good fish to eat as well, but they do hone in on those frogs, especially this time of year. So regardless, if you're down in South Florida, going around and checking all that out, I would highly recommend you having some frogs to fish there. Now, I'm not going to pull that whole bait box open and go through everything that's in there, but I'm going to sum it up. These fish that are here respond to some very natural coloration. Now, I know there's some non-natural colors in that, but I'm going to explain 2 of them. That pink color you saw, for some reason, and I'll go back to those jig heads we were just talking about, pink seems to be a great color for fishing. It's a bright, vibrant color. They just hone in on it. I will tell anyone, don't be afraid to throw pink. I have people who have made the jokes countless times. Car audio, mint. Made the jokes countless times. Why would you throw pink? Pink is not something that is natural. I don't know. Pink is just something I've thrown, never been afraid to throw it, and people are amazed when I catch stuff on it. So I always say, put something different in your bag. If it's pink, someone's hitting Mach 1 over there. Anyways, if it's pink, if it's chartreuse, if it's neon green, put it in your box, throw it. You'd be surprised what you'll catch on it. The other one you saw, that is the Fuego Funk from Wise Guys. By the way, that's all Wise Guys products in here, except for the hooks and jig heads you saw up here. But I will say, the Fuego Funk is one of the best representations for your invasive species. It has all the colors of your Mayan cichlids and some other invasives that are in the areas, like your guppies, your jewels, stuff like that. Great bait to throw. I've caught tons of peacocks on them, just fishing on my own time before we started filming almost every trip we went on. And with that, I've been using a lot more live bait. So this year alone, kind of talking on the channel now, this year alone, I think we're going to be throwing more artificials, trying for that artificial bite. I've shown you guys through and through that if you have live shiners, live shrimp, you'll catch fish. So we're going to be pushing a little bit more on the artificial side of things. May mean the videos slow down a little bit. With live bait come numbers, but there are some things that you can do with your artificials that help it out, like running some scent on some soft plastics, stuff like that. If it looks, smells, and tastes like food, odds are we're going to eat it. I mean, there was a whole generation of kids that ate Tide Pods. So I mean, if it looks good, eat it. Don't eat Tide Pods. Don't eat anything that is not food as humans. But it's okay to feed fish plastic, just saying. Just saying. But there's a lot of cool stuff that you can throw. Your white flukes, I did a whole video on that for Native Bait and Tackle. If you guys haven't seen that video, hop on over to Native Bait and Tackle's YouTube channel. I will link them below. There's a whole spiel I did on just fluke, stuff like that. Typically on stuff like this, I'm running a 1, 2, or 3/0, just twist lock mustad hook. The owners work great too. You can get them cheap about anywhere. It's a very universal hook. I do have some that I throw non-weighted, some that I do throw weighted. Typically, if I'm throwing weighted, it is the 1/8 ounce or 1/16 ounce. Just because here, water's not as deep. When I go to Miami and throw these, definitely running a little bit more weight, or I'm running these exactly. So, cool thing to throw. Twist them on about any paddle tail, any Senko, any fluke. Just play with your sizes. Some people like to have that hook way back. So if that fish smacks it in the back, you have the fish. I don't like it way down the bait. I like it about midsection on the bait. So your 3/0, your 4/0 are what I use. Now, when it comes to personal preference on rods, I have plenty of rods that I use at my disposal. Typically for freshwater fishing, your 2500s, 3000s, perfect for the job. 15-pound line is what I use. I like my Power Pro Super Slick. I like my Diamond Braid, and I like my Daiwa J Braid. There we go. Having a brain fart. But this is what I will say. Whatever you're more comfortable with, throw that. If that's Beyond Braid, if that's Suffix, if that's anything along those lines, throw that. Be fish with what you're comfortable. You don't have to throw what I just showed you, especially if you're here. But good start. I like my braided line. There are some guys that preach monofilament. Again, fish what you're comfortable with. This is just me explaining how I fish this fishery. When it comes to rods, again, preference. I like my 7-footers. There's guys that like your 7.6s. There's guys that like your 6.7s. Fish what you're comfortable with. I like my lighter tackle for freshwater fishing. Now, do I have some meat sticks? Absolutely. Do I have some? Yeah, they're my Phoenix rods, my heavy-duty bait casting Phoenix rods. If I'm throwing something that I'm going to go, hey, frog, top water, something like that, I got to put power into, I'm throwing my bait casters. Like I said, I'm running about 40-pound braid on those for castability and strength, and about a 40-pound mono leader. Some people don't like throwing leader at all in their freshwater gear. Here, I fish in places where there could be saltwater fish, tarpon, snook, jacks. They're there. You may not think it when fishing for bass, but here in South Florida, especially Naples, Golden Gate, some of these canals after Hurricane Ian came through, there's saltwater fish in them. So I'm just mindful of where I fish. If you want to just throw straight braid, throw straight braid, whatever you're comfortable with. But 7-foot rods is what I like for my just regular spinning reels. 8 to 14s, I use my Fenwick HMXs for my freshwater stuff. And a few mixed bag rods, some of my Phoenix rods, stuff like that. If I'm throwing anything smaller than a 2500, I have, can't remember what they are, but they're a green camo Phoenix rod. Great option with that, or even some of the cheaper like Daiwa rods and Shimano rods is what I throw as well. Like under your $100 because it's a 1000 reel. If I hook into a monster on that, it's going that way and I'm never seeing it. So yeah, it's a simple video. I just wanted to go over a few things with you guys about fishing here in sunny Southwest Florida and South Florida, especially coming into our spring bite, on some little how-tos, what to do's, and what to fish with. You guys get out there and hook into your next memory. Thank you for listening to me talk. You guys have a great one. And again, get out there and hook into your next memory. I'll see you next time. All right, guys, so you made it to the end of the video.
Sorry about that. I agree. We need to slow down here, man.
All right, brother. That guy flew down the fucking road at like 80 miles an hour. And I was like, bro, like, I'm out here filming this video. Homeboy just flies down the road. And I'm like, bro, slow down. I'm like, what are you doing? And he just came back. So I was doing the giveaway video. Anyways, don't speed, and we'll make this interesting. You guys want a chance to win this, go on over to my Instagram page. Tag 3 friends, follow me and Native Bait and Tackle. Make sure you're doing that. I'm going to check, because there's some of you the last time I did a giveaway, and y'all were like, I'm just going to do this, pretend I bought. No, I will check. I got nothing better to do with my life than make fishing videos and work on cars. And fish and do this. And tell people to slow down on my road. But if you guys come back over to the video, because you guys are watching this on Instagram and YouTube right now, if you guys come back over to my YouTube video and comment slow down, I will enter you guys in for a second chance to win the reel. So if you guys want, come on over to the YouTube and comment slow down on this video, and I'll give you guys a second entry in for the reel, because who doesn't like better odds and people to not drive Mach 1 down their road. I'll see you guys later.